Hello Sudoku friends and welcome to an evil level puzzle on websudoku.com. This is a brand new puzzle. I haven't seen it before, so let's see how this is going to work. As usual, I will talk a little to myself. The 7 here and the 7 here will put a 7 in one of these two cells and therefore in one of these two cells. And we have a 1 here and the 1 here. So one of these two cells will be a 1, as will one of these two cells, because of the 1 in this column and in this column. And of course, one of these two cells must be a 1, because this 1 blocks these cells, and this 1 blocks these two cells. Anything else we can glean from the first view? Yes, of course. The 8 here puts an 8 in one of these two cells, and therefore in this cell or in this cell. And I know that a 4 will have to go in one of these two cells, of course. And in one of these two cells as well. This looks to be a very nice puzzle. There are no singles, at least none that I have found so far. I will keep looking though. I can see that these 3 cells, of course, need to be a 2, 4, and an 8. And sometimes I just look at 2 digits like these two, and I think to myself, where can I put a 7 and an 8 in these cells here? And since I can forget about the 7 because it's already present, the 8, of course, can't go here, nor can it go here. And because of the 8 that blocks this cell, the 8 must go here. It's a quick way to find a digit, and it actually works more often than not. And it works also with the 2 and the 4. We need to find a 2 and a 4 for these cells here. And well, the 4 can't go here because of this 4, so the 4 will have to go in one of these two cells. But the 2 here and the 2 here puts a 2 in this cell. And now I'm looking at the 3 and the 5. 3 and the 5 obviously cannot go in any of these 3 cells, so we need to find homes for them in these 3 cells. And of course, the 5 needs to go in one of these two, and the 3 needs to go in one of these two because of the 5 and the 3 here. What's more, though, is that besides the 3 and the 5, we still need to find a 4, 8, and a 9. We know that a 4 will have to be in one of these two cells, of course, and the 4, 8, and the 9 cannot go in this cell. So I'm beginning to see a vague picture of which digits will go where, but I'm not quite sure yet. So it will have to wait for a little while. Of course, the 6 here and the 6 here puts a 6 up here somewhere. Let's see, and the 7 here and the 7 here puts a 7 here. And here's the, let's just call it the New York Times trick, because we find this pattern very often in the New York Times. We got a 5, 6, and a 9 here, and we need to find 5, 6, and a 9 for these 4 cells. And we have a 5, 6, and a 9 all blocking this cell. So we know that these 3 cells here have to be a 5, 6, and a 9. And that leaves a 2, 3, 7, and an 8 for this cell, this cell, this cell, and this cell. A 2, 3, 7, and an 8. We have a 3 and a 7, so this is going to be a 2 or an 8. And therefore, a 3 and a 7 will have to be 2 of these 3 cells. And that means that a ghost 3 here and a 3 here puts a 3 in this cell, doesn't it? So let's examine the center column here, column 5, and see what's missing. It's missing a 2, 4, 5, and a 7. We've got a 5 and a 7 here. Therefore, this cell cannot be a 5, nor can it be a 7. We also have a 5 and a 7 here. Therefore, this cell cannot be a 5 or a 7. That means that this cell and this cell here, these two cells must be a 5 and a 7. And that, of course, makes this cell a 2 or a 4, and this cell also a 2 or a 4. Let's remind ourselves the 3 digits here have to be a 2, 4, and an 8. And now we found a 5 and a 7. So we just need to find out the 2 last digits. And of course, they have to be a 6 and a 9. So this cell must be a 6 or a 9, and so must this cell. And of course, we need to pay attention to the 4 and the 9 in this row and the 4 and the 9 in this column. Together, they block these 3 cells and these 2 cells. So this cell must be a 4 or a 9, and this cell must also be a 4 or a 9. And that means that the remaining cells must be a 1, 2, 5, and a 6. So let's recap. This cell must be a 4 or a 9. We just established that, as well this one. And that means it cannot be a 2, can it? And this cell also cannot be a 2 because of the 2 here. This cell cannot be a 2 because of the 2 here. And this 2 blocks this cell from being a 2. Therefore, it follows that this cell must be a 2 now. And I believe we can find a 6 because of the 6 here blocking these cells and the 6 here blocking these cells. One of these two cells must be a 6, and therefore one of these two cells must be a 6. Otherwise, we couldn't have a 6 in row 2, could we? But this cell cannot be a 6 because of the 6 down here. Therefore, this must be a 6. So the 9, 4 here and here leaves us to find a 1, 2, and a 5. 9, 4, 9, 4, 5 must go here or here, and the 2 must go here or here, and the last digit is a 1. It must go either here, here, or here. So I can't do anything about them right now, but I'll keep a close eye on those 3 digits. Let's turn back our attention to the 5, 6, and the 9 here. They have to go, as we remember, in these 3 cells here, 5, 6, and the 9, leaving a 2, 3, 7, and an 8 to be found. Let's see. This cell cannot be a 2 or an 8. And this cell cannot be a 2 or an 8 because we have a 2 and an 8 in this row, and we have a 2 and an 8 in this row. So now we have limited the 2 and an 8 to this cell, and this cell. Those are the only 3 cells that can take a 2 and an 8 potentially. So let me see if I can eliminate anything from those. This cell here could be a 2 or an 8. And we know that this cell could be a 2 or an 8, and this cell could be a 2 or an 8. But what else can they be? For example, what about the 3 and the 7? There's a 3 and a 7 here, so this is a 2 or an 8. What about this cell here? Well, it cannot be a 3, but we know it can be a 2 or an 8. But can it be a 7? And no, it can't be a 7 because we have the 7 that blocks these cells and we have a 7 that blocks these cells. So one of these two cells must be a 7. Therefore, this cannot be a 7. Therefore, this is a 2 or an 8. And this is a 2 or an 8. And now these two cells have to be a 3 or a 7, or rather a 3 and a 7. And since this cell cannot be a 7, it must be a 3, and this must be a 7. That was not easy, and I hope I did it right. We still need to find a 3 for this row here, and this cell is blocked by this 3, and this cell is blocked by these two 3s, so this cell must be a 3. Now we are left with a pair, which is going to be a 5 and a 1. There's a 5 already that blocks this cell, so of course the 1 must go here and the 5 here. And now I think we are onto something. Interestingly, in addition to the 4, 9 here and the 4, 9 here, this cell appears to be a 4 or a 9. Let's count. A 1, 2, 3, 4, yes. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, yes. A 4 or a 9. Would be interesting to see what this one up here could be. Well, it couldn't be a 4, could it? Because of the 4 here. For this column, we still need to find a 4, though. I mean, it will have to go here or here. We need to find a 5. Oh, that's easy because the 5 needs to go here, right? We got the 5 blocking this cell and the 5 blocking these two cells. Sometimes you have to look twice or 10 times before you find the next digit. I'm still no closer to finding the 6, 9 here and the 6, 9 here. We still have the 5, 7 and the 5, 7 here, of course, and the 2, 4 and the 2, 4 here. And of course, one of these two will have to be an 8. I want to look at this column 9 because we only need to find a 1, 4 and a 9 for it. And there's a 1 here that blocks this cell, and there's a 9 here that blocks the same cell. Therefore, this must be a 4, and this is now a 9, and this is a 4, according to the old analysis we did a long time ago. These two now have to be a 7 and a 9, because we have a 7, 9 in this row, we have a 7, 9 in this row, so these are 7 and 9s. And that means that a 9 will have to go in one of these two cells, as will a 4. So a 4, 9 pair here, making this cell up here an 8. These two cells now have to be a 1 and a 2. And given the 1 here, that makes this cell a 1 as well. So 7 and a 9 here, of course, makes this a 1 and a 6. And that would be a 2, 4 here then, and a 2, 4 here, except it can't be a 4 because of the 4 already present in this 3 by 3 box. So this is a 2, this is a 4, and now we finally found the 2, 4 pair for this center column, remembering that these two other cells have to be a 5 and a 7, of course. This must now be a 1. And now we are looking for a 2 and an 8 for these two cells. We still have our old friends here, 5, 6, and 9 for these three cells, right? And we need to find still an 8. Remember how the 2 and an 8 had to go in this cell or in this cell? And since we have this 2 here now, then this must be an 8. And therefore this must be an 8. And this cell is now a 2. And of course the 8 here and here and the 8 up here forces an 8 into this cell like so. Now we got the 8 here, here, and we got the 8 here, here, putting an 8 right here. 4 and 9, 1 and 7. And that means that this cell cannot be a 7, therefore it must be a 5, and the 7 goes here. That was one of our very first findings. A 4, 6, and a 9 for these cells here. There's a 6 and a 9 in this row, so the 4, of course, must go here. And this is now a 6 or a 9, and this is now a 6 or a 9. But we knew that all the time, didn't we? The 3 here blocks these two cells, and the 3 here blocks these two. So the 3 for this 3 by 3 block must go here. And that puts, of course, a 3 in this cell like so, and in this cell here. And that's it, I guess, for the 3s for this puzzle. The 2 here blocks these two cells, and we have a 2 up here that blocks this cell. So this must now be a 2. And these 2s and the 2 up here puts a 2 in this cell like so. Now we are just missing a 9 and a 5 for these two cells here. Remember our old friends, the 5, 6, and 9s that had to go in these 3 cells here. We found the 5. What about the 6? Well, we got this 6 here that blocks this cell. So one of these two cells must be a 6. And that means that one of these two cells must be a 6 as well. We are getting close. We need to find a 5, 6, and a 9 also for row 4. There's a 5 here, and there's a 6 here. So this must be a 9, and the other one, remember that? That was a 4. And now this cell is a 9. These now have to be a 5 and a 6. This cell, of course, is a 6, making this cell a 5, 6. This last digit is going to be a 9. And this 9 gives us a 9 for this bottom row, like so. And therefore, also for column 1 here, this 9, and this 9 forces a 9 into this cell. And the last digit that we need here is going to be the 7, giving us a 7 for this cell, and a 1 for this one, 1 up here. And this is going to be a 6. And that makes this cell a 6. And this is now a 5. Putting a 5 in this cell, 5 in this, 6 in this, and we are getting close, very close. 7 must go here and here. That was somewhat more difficult than I had expected, but I hope that you enjoyed the journey from start to finish and that you will be back for more soon. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.